What if I told you that the first $100,000 you save is more important than the next million? It sounds crazy, right? But the math doesn't lie. Charlie Munger, the legendary investor, once said that getting that first 100K is a total nightmare. He said, you just have to do it, even if you have to walk everywhere and eat nothing but beans. But why is this specific number so difficult compared to everything that comes after? Let's break it down. In the beginning, you are doing all the heavy lifting. When you have $0, your money earns $0 in interest. In fact, every single cent you save must come from your own labor. You are trading your time, your most valuable asset, for every dollar. Studies show that for most people, this stage feels like a treadmill that never ends. Imagine you save $10,000 a year. If you put that into the stock market with a 7% return, after 1 year, you've made $700. That's barely enough to cover a single month's groceries in many cities. At this point, your savings are doing 93% of the work, and the interest is only doing 7%. This is the dead zone where many people lose hope and buy a new car instead. But watch what happens as we continue the grind toward that 100K mark. By year 5, you have 50,000 in savings, but compound interest has added 7,500. It's getting better, but you're still the one doing the vast majority of the pushing. Here is what happens when you finally hit that magic $100,000 milestone. Suddenly, that 7% return isn't $700 anymore. It's $7,000 a year. That is a significant amount of money that you didn't have to sweat for. Your money has effectively become a part-time employee working for you 24/7. To get from 0 to 100K, it might take you 8 years of hard saving. But to get from 100K to 200K, that only takes about 5 years. And from 200K to 300K, only about 4 years. The time intervals are shrinking even though the amount of money earned is the same. This is the power of the snowball effect in action. At first, the snowball is tiny and you have to roll it manually through the snow. It picks up very little extra snow with each rotation because its surface area is small. But as it grows, every single turn grabs more and more snow than the turn before. By the time it's a giant, it's moving so fast you couldn't stop it if you tried. But the first 100K isn't just a math problem, it's a psychological battle. In the beginning, you have to change your entire relationship with consumption. You are fighting against lifestyle creep, the urge to spend more as you earn more. When your friends buy new shoes or gadgets, you have to stay disciplined. This discipline is like a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. By the time you reach 100K, you've developed the habits of a wealthy person. You've learned to live on less than you make, which is the ultimate financial superpower. But let's look at the opportunity cost of giving up early. If you stop at $10,000, your money will only grow to $20,000 in 10 years at 7%. But if you hit that 100,000 mark and never add another cent, it will grow to nearly 200,000 in those same 10 years without you doing a thing. That is the tipping point, where the money starts to outpace your own ability to save. Think of it like a space rocket trying to leave the Earth's atmosphere. The rocket burns 80% of its fuel just to get through the first few miles of gravity. It's fighting air resistance, weight, and the pull of the planet. But once it reaches orbit, it can travel thousands of miles with almost no fuel at all. Your first 100K is your escape velocity. It's the amount of capital needed to break free from the gravity of paycheck-to-paycheck living. In fact, once you have 100K, you have options that you didn't have before. You can take bigger risks because you have a safety net. If a business idea fails, you aren't going to go hungry. This FU money, as it's often called, gives you power over your time and your career. But let's be realistic. How do you actually get there? The first step is tracking every single dollar that leaves your pocket. Most people are shocked to find out where their money actually goes. It's rarely the big purchases that sink us. It's the hundreds of small ones. The daily coffee, the unused subscriptions, the convenience meals. If you can save an extra $500 a month, you accelerate your journey by years. The second step is increasing your income without increasing your lifestyle. This is where the real magic happens. This is the gap. The wider you can make that gap, the faster you hit the 100K mark. It's not about being cheap. It's about being intentional. You are buying your future freedom with today's discipline. Let's look at the numbers again for someone who saves $20,000 a year instead of $10,000. They hit the 100K mark in just over 4 years instead of nearly 8. They have cut their suffering time in half through focus. Once you cross that threshold, you'll notice something strange happening to your mindset. You stop worrying about making it and start thinking about growing it. The stress of bills begins to fade into the background. You begin to understand the language of the wealthy. You realize that $100,000 isn't just a number. It's a tool. It's a tool that generates its own energy. To illustrate this, imagine two people, Alex and Jordan. Alex works hard, but spends everything. After 10 years, Alex has 0 assets. Jordan grinds for the first 5 years and hits the 100K mark, then relaxes their savings. In 20 years, Jordan's 100K has become 400K without any extra effort. Alex is still on the treadmill, now 20 years older and just as tired. This is why the first 100K is the hardest, and why it changes everything. It is the barrier between being a servant to money and being its master. But wait, what about inflation? Does 100K still mean the same thing? In fact, today's 100K might feel like 50K felt 30 years ago. This means you have to be even more aggressive with your early savings. The math remains the same, but the hurdle is higher than it used to be. Don't let that discourage you. The principle of the first 100K is universal. Whether it's $100,000, euros, or pounds, the math of compounding doesn't change. It is about reaching a critical mass of capital. Think of it like building a fire in the woods. At first, you have to blow on the sparks and protect them from the wind. If you stop for a second, the fire goes out and you're back to 0. But once you have a roaring bonfire, you can throw whole logs on it and it just gets hotter. The first 100K is the spark and the kindling. The $1 million at the end? That's just the natural result of the fire burning. So, how close are you to your first 100K? Remember, the hardest part isn't the end. It's the very beginning. Don't get distracted by people who are already at the finish line. They had to go through their first 100K nightmare too. Stay disciplined, keep your expenses low, and let the math do the work. Once you hit that 6-figure mark, you'll realize the mountain wasn't as high as it looked. Are you ready to start your climb today? Let us know in the comments how you're doing.